was an awful beginning. From the time she was born, February 29, 1956, is Aileen Carol Pittman. She never met her father, Leo, since he was a psychopathic child molester who hung himself in prison in 1969. Her mother, Diane Wuornos, married Pittman when she was just 15, and they had 2 children in Rochester, Michigan, Aileen and her older brother Keith. Diane divorced Pittman less than 2 years into the marriage. Diane found the responsibilities of single motherhood unbearable, and in 1960, she abandoned Aileen and her brother Keith, who were then adopted by their maternal grandparents, Lori and Britta Wuornos. The Wuornoses raised Aileen and Keith with their own children in Troy, Michigan. They did not reveal that they were the children's grandparents. Lori Wuornos drank heavily and was strict with the children. Aileen discovered the truth that they were her grandparents at age 12 and then rebelled. Aileen was pregnant at age 14 and sent to an unwed mother's home. She had a boy who was then adopted. According to Michael Reynolds in the book Dead Ends, Aileen, known to her friends as Lee, dropped out of school, left home, and took up hitchhiking and prostitution. In the next few years, Keith died of throat cancer at age 21, Lori committed suicide, and Aileen headed to Florida. Aileen was 20. She was hitchhiking when a wealthy 69-year-old yacht club president named Lewis Fell picked her up. He fell in love with her instantly. When they married in 1976, the news was actually printed in the society pages. She treated Fell badly, got into bar fights, and was sent to jail for assault. Fell realized she was not who he thought she was, and they divorced. For the next decade, she lurched from one failed relationship to another, working in prostitution, forgery, theft, and armed robbery. Along the way, she tried to commit suicide. Emotionally and physically, she was a mess. When she met 24-year-old Tyler Moore, Aileen was lonely, angry, and vulnerable. For a while, it was great. Ty loved her and didn't leave her. She even quit her job as a motel maid for a while and allowed Lee to support her with her prostitution earnings. Ty stayed with Lee, following her from cheap motel to cheap motel, or in the woods in between. They needed to make money quickly if their relationship was going to survive. On December 13, 1989, 2 young men were looking for scrap metal along a dirt road close to Interstate 95. They found a body wrapped in rubber-backed carpet runner. Fingerprints carefully taken from the badly decomposed hands proved that it was Richard Mallory, who had last been seen 13 days earlier. He had been killed with 3 shots from a .22. Initial suspicion revolved around a stripper who went by the name of Chastity. As a few more murders were being uncovered with the same .22, papers across Florida picked up the story and ran it, along with the police sketches of the woman in question. She carried Windex with her gun in her kill bag, ready to wipe away fingerprints and cover her tracks. Her habit was to return home smiling after a murder, waving her ill-gotten gains and promising Tyra that she could now pay for the rent, buy the beer, pay for the trip to SeaWorld, and pay for them to party. The thumbprint was key. Information was sent from the National Crime Information Center. Responses came from Michigan, Colorado, and Florida. Lori Grody, Susan Blockovic, Cammie Marsh Green, Chastity were all aliases for Aileen Carol Wuornos, and the hunt began. Police captured Moore and used her as the ticket to Lee, making it seem like they were prosecuting her for the murders. Phone lines were tapped and Lee came clean, and quote, "And I'll cover for you because you're innocent and I'm not going to let you go to jail. Listen, if I have to confess, I will." And in the morning of January 16th, she did. On January 27th, they found Wuornos guilty of first-degree murder. And as they filed out of the courtroom, she exploded with rage, shouting, "I'm innocent! I was raped! I hope you get raped, scumbags of America!" With a unanimous verdict, they recommended that Judge Blunt sentence her to the electric chair. He did so on January 31st. Wuornos, 46, was the 10th woman in the U.S. and the 2nd woman in Florida to be executed. For years, Wuornos claimed she was shot the men out of self-defense while being raped and sodomized. Later, she recanted her claims, saying she wanted to make peace with God. After her arrest, she was immediately labeled a man-hating lesbian. Her past relationships made Aileen turn to murder. It wasn't the joy of killing. It was the need for money and the fear of never finding or being close to someone. Aileen was just a self-destructive woman looking for love in all the wrong places.